For the past 10 years, I've been a big fan of both game theory and FNAF. I'm an especially big fan of game theory's FNAF theories. Whether it's MapHat or Tom giving the theory, it's always sparked an interest for me. And after livestreaming the newest FNAF game, Secret of the Mimic, I decided that I want to make a theory of my own. The question was, what would I choose? The first thing I thought about making a theory of was which ending is the canon one. However, that seemed like too boring of a question. It obviously can't be the secret ending, as that is only available through New Game Plus. So that just left us with the bad and parachute endings. But both those endings end with the Mimic escaping with a fully upgraded data diver, and with Arnold dead, so which one being canon doesn't fully matter. The only other content Arnold finds in the parachute ending is that Fiona became Mix's and that Edwin is dead, but Arnold also dies, so what he finds out doesn't matter at all. So that theory was off the table. The next theory I thought about was what exactly caused the manor to shut down. While the game gave subtle hints of the downfall of the MCM, it never outright gives us the full story. However, it does give us enough information as to not make a compelling theory out of it. It would just feel like I am restating a bunch of mail we received in the games with little to no actual theorizing. So that theory was also off the table. After those ideas, I watched back my playthrough of the game, which you can check out on my channel or in the description, and look for any mysteries that looked interesting. And there was one thing in particular that stood out. I really don't know how I didn't think of this sooner. I decided to go with figuring out what was up with the ghost tiger. Like, is it the Mimic? A ghost? A hallucination? Whatever it was, I was determined to figure it out. The first idea I had was that Arnold was hallucinating this monster while he went around the manor. And no, I do not mean he was hanging around with the mycelium men too much. At the very start of the game, when Arnold learns of his new task, he states that he's been up for about 36 hours on his last shift. Also, by the time he reaches the tunnels, it is around 3:30 to 3:45 a.m. So that means Arnold was awake for around 40 hours. Hallucinations can start around the 24-hour mark and progressively become more frequent the longer one stays up. So it is certainly possible for this to be the case. So what? Is that it? Arnold's just insane from staying up very late? Well, that's what I thought, for about 5 minutes. The glaring issue with this theory is how is Arnold hallucinating the white tiger suit, if he has never seen the white tiger before? The white tiger doll doesn't appear as a collectible until New Game Plus, so there's no way that Arnold would know what it looks like for the entire first playthrough. And I'm 95% sure that the physical white tiger suit is nowhere in the game, especially not around before the first encounter with it in the theater. So it looks like Arnold isn't going insane. Well, in terms of the tiger at least. Was the white tiger suit being controlled by the Mimic? While it is certainly possible, why does it act so differently in the suit than the others? So knowing these questions, I wanted to take a step back and figure out what I know about the tiger and its connection to the Mimic. And well, it's not much. I do know that the white tiger doll was David's first birthday present, and as the Mimic is mimicking David, it means that the doll is important to the Mimic as well. And that's kind of it. What I do know is that the Mimic appears in the Tales from the Pizzaplex book series, so that's a good place to start looking. So I haven't read any of the Tales of the Pizzaplex books before, so I have to quickly catch up on the relevant stories. According to someone on Reddit, the stories Help Wanted, GGY, The Storyteller, Bobby Dots Part 1 and 2, The Mimic, and Tiger Rock are all important towards the Mimic. Also, the epilogues are important as well apparently. So after a quick 8-hour journey to read all the stories, I am back and more confused than ever. Apparently while reading these books, I believe I have accidentally proved that Tales games, which is a theory that the Tales books are in the same universe as the games, is not canon. The biggest thing is that in the books Fiona dies in childbirth, but in the games dies in the fire at Fallfest years after David is born. So there you have it, Tales games is not canon. However, that doesn't mean we can't use the books to help us theorize. After all, theorists have done the same thing with the Silver Eyes trilogy and the Fazbear Fright series too. What I learned from the books is the same stuff that I knew from the game. That's right, unless I missed it, there's no more helpful info about this theory in the books. And before you all say in the comments that, well, the tiger is actually Tiger Rock from the Tiger Rock story, no he isn't. Tiger Rock is the future version of the doll that was turned into a VR animatronic. It's the glam rock version of the tiger. Even then, the only real importance of that is that it's just connected to M1, which is Fiona. And as I will say later, I really don't think the tiger is Fiona. So, with that oh so important expedition out of the way, did any of that help us figure out if the tiger was being controlled by the Mimic? No. No, it does not. so we'll just have to go off the game. In the game, the properties of the tiger is that it can teleport, and that's kind of it, but it is helpful because the mimic cannot teleport. Shocking, I know. But as it only moves in the dark, one could just make the argument that it just quickly runs away. Well, if that's what you think, that's good for you, but like seriously, in 3 frames it appears to stare at you and then disappears in 3 frames. I don't know how agile the mimic is, but for it to be going that fast while being that quiet, it must have rolled a natural 20. If that is not enough reason for it to not be the mimic for you, then just listen to this. And the tunnels tell me what happens when you stare at the tiger. That's right, it will send an astral projection of its face onto your screen. I don't know how the mimic would be able to do that unless it somehow mimicked the abilities of a ghost. Edwin must have done the Ghostbusters or something, because I have no clue how he would be able to add a feature for the mimic to see spirits. Now that I think about it, could the white tiger suit be the white tiger doll possessed by a ghost? I know, shocker, right? The magical suit that can appear and disappear at will and can jump at your screen UCM Funtime Chica style is a spirit. Well then, the next question is who possesses it? Only possible dead people in the game are a dead MCM employee, a dead Fazbear technician, Fiona, David, or Edwin. I think we can eliminate the first 2 out pretty easily. For the MCM employee, I believe they are already using that trope down in the moon area. We see a message from an employee down there saying they're both hungry and trapped, so we can assume they died down there. The only other thing being down there is the moon enemy that wanders around and acts differently than the mimic, so if we put 2 and 2 together, that kinda makes sense. While there isn't anything clearly being possessed by a Fazbear technician, I still don't think it's a good fit. The fact that it is the white tiger and the doll is so closely connected to the Murray family, I think it must be one of them. The next person I believe it can eliminate is Fiona. Fiona, as we know, died in a fire at Fall Fest. Personally, I believe it was the Fall Fest of 1970 because that was the one advertised in Help Wanted 2. While it's certainly possible that her spirit possessed the suit and was just roaming the manor for 9 years, I really think the game would have given us either mail or an audio log from Edwin mentioning the suit. Also in the tunnels, there's a secret audio log where Edwin thinks he hears Fiona, and I believe that is his start to building the mimic endoskeleton, which Fiona eventually possesses. Knowing this, it's highly unlikely that it's her. Now we have reached the big 2 in my opinion. First up is David. Now there's a very compelling case for him as of course the white tiger was his doll. Also whenever the tiger appears you can hear children's laughter coming from somewhere. But while the evidence all connects, I don't see how it would make sense narratively. After Fiona, or M1, was moved into the Mix's computer, the M2 endoskeleton was meant to contain David's soul. As we see in the secret ending, we see M2 shrink down and act how David would. Why would you have this second character with the white tiger suit if you are already going to have a parallel to David with the mimic? So really that only leaves us with one last person. Now, you may be thinking, how would it be Edwin? Well, I believe not only is there enough evidence to prove it, but it also fits into the narrative very well. Throughout the game, the suit appears at seemingly random intervals to scare players, usually after some long encounters with the mimic, or when you reach an area where you think you'll have a moment of rest. It's only once you reach the tunnels that it really attacks you. But why do that? Well, I believe it is because Edwin is trying to stop you from helping the mimic. Think about it, it appears during safe areas to scare you and try to get Arnold to turn back. And it's only once you get executive access that it attacks. We know for a fact that the mimic wants the fully upgraded data diver, as instead of going for the kill in the parachute ending, it decides to just take the data diver. Even in the bad ending, you get that ending by handing in the completed data diver. So whoever's in the suit is trying to stop you from finishing the mimic's plan. So therefore it has to be someone who already knew what it was. The only dead person who could possibly know about its escape plan is Edwin. So he possesses the suit, one that was important to his family and possibly one he created for his son's first birthday, and tries to stop Arnold. So that's the motives of the white tiger. But how does the suit being possessed by Edwin make the narrative better? Well, think about it. We have Fiona in Mixis and David in the Mimic. Both those things appear in FNAF Ruin and are most likely going to appear again. Well, what if the tiger suit appears in the next game? Then all 3 of the Murray family members will be there in some way, and we could possibly bring them all peace. There's another piece as well, which is a little bit of a stretch, but I think it's interesting. When we turn the mimic back into David in the secret ending, what is the first thing he does? He grabs the white tiger doll and lies down with him. The white tiger is supposed to be Edwin. This scene is David literally spending time with his father, which is all he wanted to do. Throughout their story, David just wants to be with his father, but Edwin is always busy. It eventually leads to his son's death, and that throws Edwin into disarray. So this could be seen as a resolution for both Edwin and David, and could possibly be what we are trying to do in the next game. While it is certainly possible for the white tiger to be David, I feel having it be Edwin would be an extremely compelling story with bringing the family back together. I am really looking forward to either the DLC for Secret of the Mimic or the next game, and I really hope my theory ends up being correct. This was my first ever theory video, and honestly, this was so much fun to do. I can see why Game Theory has almost 800 videos now. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like, subscribe, and maybe check out some of my other content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all later.